Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the show where we speak with the people shaping the future of real estate, one decision at a time. I'm Stuart Quintal, the founder of PropLink AI. We build AI tools that turn real estate leads into revenue. Today, I'm joined by somebody who's been at the short-term rental space since the early days of Airbnb. Brad Greiner, founder of Open Air Homes, a luxury property management and short-term rental company operating across some of the most sought-after locations in the US. Brad's an early AI adopter and who he also values human empathy. So scaling open air from one rental to a full-fledged brand while balancing tech, service, and the dual model of short-term rentals and brokerage. Let's dive in. Brad, welcome to
Awesome.
the show.
Thank you. That was such a nice introduction. You summed it up better than I could.
Brad, I like to start at the beginning, I guess, sort of where it all began. What's the story behind Open Air Homes?
Yeah. So, I'll even go back to before it began. I come from an entrepreneurial family. And I think coming out of college, I went to UCLA. I think I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but like, if you don't have an idea, it's like, okay, you can kind of want to do things. But like, so I started a few things and they just kind of didn't go anywhere because it's like, there was no need that I was filling. Instead, I just was like, oh, let's start these businesses. Didn't work out. But so then Open Air Homes is kind of was built out of need. I owned a home that was in the Hollywood Hills. I had roommates; they were my close friends, and we decided Airbnb was brand new, so we put one room for rent on Airbnb. And about like 2 weeks in, I realized like I was in the kitchen with a stranger, just like having coffee, which was a nice moment. But I realized in that moment, like I don't want to do that every day of my life, like with a new stranger every single day in my house. So kicked the roommates out and put the whole home for rent on Airbnb. And this was, I think, maybe I've never even actually talked to anyone at Airbnb about this, like from the founding team or like back in the day. But I think it was like one of the first large luxury homes in Los Angeles to go on Airbnb. And I knew nothing about the industry. I think we priced it at like $400 a night, thinking like, oh wow, that's great. And then all of a sudden, you sort of learn like it's just the calendar's filling, and so we just kept upping the price until we realized that there was such demand for this. And then what happened from there? I was still producing movies, and that was my main gig. Um, but what happened is one of our guests had such a great stay that they said, "Hey, we just bought this property. Can you manage it?" So I had to figure out how to start a property management company. And I think at first it was like, okay, this is a side gig. I can have my team that's working on on the movie production. I can have them just help. And so they were helping. And like I had this actress that worked for me, and she wanted to be working in film and television, and all of a sudden she's managing properties. And then from there, it just kept growing and growing and growing, and just learning as we went along. I think that the thing that I got right from the beginning was I sort of realized that like if the guest doesn't have a great experience, like your life becomes miserable and it's really, really challenging. So we've kind of always committed to the guest experience. And as a result, like I think now 12 years in, we have a really high rating on sites like Airbnb. And so we're just like a trusted partner, if you will. And I think a lot of people have had a bad experience staying at a home. There's millions of hosts. Not everyone's doing it the same. And so, it helps when homeowners are joining us now. I think it helps that we have so much experience and we're trusted at this point in time. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
the end.
Thanks, Brad. I
Now we
mean,
can
you
all go
sort of,
home.
yeah. You mentioned, I guess, going from film production and then to sort of, I guess, building this business. But at what point did you sort of realize that it could become a full scale business, like not just a side project or part of your other job? I guess at what point did you realize you could be full scale business, go into this full scale?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think what was happening was I was looking at the film and television industry, and it was being consumed by these, you know, tech monsters, the apples of the world, Netflix. There's a few companies that were owning everything, and everyone was getting squeezed. Right now, we're seeing it worse than ever, and especially in Los Angeles. So I kind of saw that happening about 10 years ago, and that was at the exact same moment where so many people were calling asking for management, and so it kind of just like happened naturally that it just sort of morphed from one to the other. And then my time kind of went more and more into it. I'll be completely clear. Like 2014 and 15, those years were like really, really challenging for short-term rentals. We had so many people that saw Airbnb as a place that you go to book a party home. We had so many
Yep.
parties happening in our homes, and we would try. I wouldn't say. I mean, we weren't known as like a party house company, but everyone thought that this is what this was for. Why you would book a home. Um, at that time I kind of almost thought like I should give up on this. So there was a lot of moments where it was like I was kind of doing both, and then um, coming out the other side of that, COVID was a really big learning moment for us. We actually grew a lot during COVID. We had really high occupancy. We just, we're small enough to where I pivoted and switched all of our homes to monthly rentals, and we filled every single one with like people that needed a place to stay. And you heard from so many hosts that were like, we have no bookings. What are we going to do? It's COVID. And we're like, we're nearly 100% occupied. And so I think that was like, COVID was probably the moment where I was like, oh, like we're serving a need here. And, we're small enough and nimble enough where we could like pivot the business. And yeah, I think now we're about 12 years in, and we're finally starting to like really actually grow, which I think we're going to get into in a bit.
What's a typical client that you serve? I guess on the customer side, but also on the consumer side.
So our homeowner partners typically, they have this pipe dream, or a dream, it's not even a pipe dream because it's partially true, but they want to eventually live in Southern California. So they might buy a house. They're from the East Coast, um, but they only want to live in it for about 2 or 3 months out of the year. That's all like their work schedule will allow for. So they'll buy it now. They bought it when interest rates were low, and they'll hold on to it for 20 years, and they think about retiring to Southern California. So we have a lot of homeowners that are like that. And then on the guest side of things, you know, we're mostly doing luxury rentals. So, we're dealing with people that are spending 15 to 25 to $30,000 a month to rent a house. But we're not exclusively luxury. I don't want to be exclusively luxury. I think, you know, I don't know where people draw the line at affordability, but we're doing some $3,000 or $4,000 a month apartments.
Mhm.
I think my standard from the beginning has always been like, we'll take on the more affordable stuff if we know that the guests are going to be really well taken care of and have a great experience. So we're kind of uh, we're not strictly luxury, but we're doing mostly luxury.
Yep. Now, if we jump into sort of the operations and technology side of the business, when we talked the other week, you talked about doing the work of 7 people with AI tools. What are some of the tools that you use daily?
Okay, well, the one I've been using recently, which is not really an AI tool, but like is Fiverr. We can get into Fiverr and why I love it. When I talk about doing the role of 7 or 8 people at this company, what I've found is that with ChatGPT, I have like the pro subscription. Um, Nowadays, you can learn any new task. I think I listen to this podcast, Andrew Huberman. He speaks a lot about like health and wellness, and the brain is elastic. But for the brain to grow, you need to kind of challenge yourself and fail at things, and that kind of like pushes you to grow and learn new things. And the way that I see ChatGPT is it's like a teacher while also being supporting me in everything that I'm doing with the business. So I would say that the one I'm using on a regular basis would be ChatGPT. And then, when I go back to Fiverr, like when I come across something like Meta Business Suite has been killing me. I hate it. I hate it. And so when I come across something that like, I'm like, I could do this, ChatGPT could help me learn how to do this, but instead I'll just hire out. So, um, I've sort of realized after our discussion that like, oh, like I'm maybe driving myself a little bit crazy if I'm doing 7 jobs and then 8 and 9. So I've been really working with some like very key and targeted, Fiverr people that know how to do very specific things, um, as opposed to trying to just to do everything on my own at this point in time.
Yep. I mean, it's good to, as you say, the brain is elastic. It is good to understand how things work, but yeah, at some point, even I myself, I need to know that there's other people with the skills that can do it better than me. Um,
Yeah, and like I'll give you an example. Like we rebuilt the website, spent a lot of money on it. It came back. The web developers didn't even index it for Google, so we literally had zero traffic. It was a terrible website. They outsourced it to India, and just like were scam artists. I won't say who they were. Um, but I learned at that time, like, okay, like I need to get in and learn how this works. So for 3 months out of my life, for probably 9 or 10 hours a day, I just sat there and learned how to web develop, like, be a web developer, landing pages and everything, set it all up. And then all of a sudden, like about a week later, I'm at the top of the Google AI overview search results. And I'm like, wow, how did I do this? Like, I didn't even necessarily know how I did it. I just kind of like iterated and iterated on the
Yep.
website until it was like exactly what I wanted. And then, we don't even have that high of a domain authority, but then all of a sudden Google was recommending us at the very top, and all of a sudden leads just started to jump. So then my job switched to sales. And yeah, I think that I'm still doing the work of like 7 people, um, but also have a great team around me. It's just uh, we were in a moment where we did need to grow, to be able to afford the team that we had. We lost a lot of homes during the Pacific Palisades fires. So, when stuff like that happens, I don't want to like lay off my team. So I kind of go into like, you know, fight or flight. And I think we figured it out.
Very good. Did the website redesign, the second redesign that you did that shift the type of leads that you're getting, or the type of traffic?
Yeah. Here's the thing. Like I don't look at Google ads, and but I realize that people do. And I think for the longest time, I was like, I just want the homeowners that like really know how to use the internet and go digging and find us and realize that we're better than others. And I sort of learned like, that's not really how this works. Like, so we're doing a combination of a bunch of things. We're doing Google ads. We took all of our stats of how much we are performing better than the industry, and we put that all online. And putting all that information online like kind of builds trust with these leads that are coming in. And so, I'm still fielding a lot of calls from people that probably don't look at the photos on our website and see sort of what it is that we're doing, and then all of a sudden want us to like manage their, just, I don't want to say it's a terrible home, but just like they have no idea what they're doing. And so the good thing about so many leads coming in, you work in real estate, your listeners work in real estate, is there's a lot of leads that come in that are just like not really ever serious or going to work out. But when you have so many coming in, you can start to be a little bit more picky.
Yep.
Like some of these top real estate agents, like top, I mean, the people that are doing these $50 million sales, like, when they get the call for like the person that wants to buy a starter home for 500,000, they have no interest in doing something like that. So hopefully we're getting to that point as well, where so many leads are coming in that we can be pickier.
Yep. How are you, like, with all the leads that are coming in, with your volume? What is your current sales process like, or how are you handling all those leads?
I'd like to say that we're using AI. We're using AI to like draft the responses to people. I'm really good at like, what I've done is I've created projects on ChatGPT. So each one of my projects is basically, like I have a homeowner seeking management project, and it has everything loaded in exactly how I want it. So I can just funnel in all this information to give it context, and it's going to come up with an email that's 80% right as a response to these people. So back to like saving me so much time by setting up that project right in ChatGPT. I feed all this in, I give it a few notes of what I want, it sends it back, and then I like humanize it, because I don't want, these M dashes are such a sign that people are using AI. Like I can tell when people are using AI. The best AI is the one where you can't really even tell that they're using AI. Like a homeowner said to me the other day, like, they own like a $4 million house. They said, "You are so fast at emails," like at getting them back to me. And sometimes, I think I told you this on our first call, sometimes I have to schedule send, because like I'll get off the phone with a homeowner and I'll do 5 minutes of research. And I don't want to say that I'm like, I've been doing this for so long that like a 1 bedroom home in Venice Beach, like, I have a broker that like signs off on the monthly rates, but like I know the nightly price, like I know the market pretty well. And so I'll get off the phone with them and I'll draft a very long email of exactly, of things that I want and things that I recommend for them next steps. And I have to schedule send it, because I don't want them thinking like, how is this possible that he did this in 5 minutes?
Mhm.
So that's really what AI is allowing me to do. It just frees up a lot of my time. to work on other things and just to, go to the gym, whatever
Yeah.
else I want to do.
I mean, you're using it to augment your life and your business as well,
Yeah.
around it, while also being authentic. If we talk about scaling and I guess the dual model that you've gone into, you're running both property management and a brokerage. How do those two businesses interact, or are they competing with each other?
Yeah, they're interacting. We probably, in hindsight, we probably started the real estate business. It's called Open Air Brokerage at the exact wrong time. Right as interest rates started to go up, was when we sort of started it. Um, but we have some great agents that are still closing deals, and we have a great broker of record that's, you know, so in a way, eventually when, interest rates come down, I could see that, you're going to see a bunch of people that are going to want our homeowners that are going to want to sell that can work with our agents, people that are buying that work with our agents and then refer to Open Air Homes, the property management company. I do see them as two separate businesses though, and I want them both to succeed individually. Um, so yeah, we're still trying to grow it, but it's also just a moment where, you know, we just put out a job post the other day, and half the people that are applying are real estate agents. So it must be tough unless you're sort of at the top and you were succeeding before interest rates went up. So yeah, and then back to Open Air Homes. I forget the question.
Well, it was more like how are they competing, or in those two sides of the business when they interact, do they interact well, or are they competing? That was the question.
Yeah, and I think that what we need is we need to have really strong agents so that like when we have a homeowner in Los Angeles that wants to sell, we have a team of agents that can handle that type of a sale. You know, it's pretty rare for a company that's newer, Open Air, the brokerage, to all of a sudden, like our first sale was like a $4.5 million house because a homeowner really trusted us and said, "Hey, I want you to sell it." So, the first deal that an agent was doing on our team was a $4.5 million sale.
Yeah,
And it's like that just doesn't come along all the time. And so I just need a really strong team of agents. We have some strong agents, but I think once we start to get going and we have more sales under our belt as a brokerage, our homeowners will be more inclined to work with us. But I also don't want to be pushy. I don't want to push it on them.
yeah. You've mentioned like as part of sort of when you've set up the business and keeping the teams and going through highs and lows, I guess. And how are you structuring the brokerage differently, I guess, to avoid the typical churn and burn culture that is sometimes brokerage?
Yeah, we have had our fair share of churn and burn. I think that brokerages, a lot of people are like not doing very well. What we've found is that when we find great people and invest in them, um, they can call our broker and who's going to pick up right away. Some of these larger companies, you kind of get lost in the shuffle unless you're one of the top people. Um, so I think for at least for now, it's been a hands-on approach. Our agents really do like working with our broker. He's fair. He's been doing this for a very long time. Um, we're looking at marketing opportunities to billboards and stuff like this to kind of support our agents. So it's just tough, when investors that I know, like no one wants to buy a home right now. They're like, why would I buy a home right now?
Mm.
If it was an investment property, if you need to move, you're going to do what you need to do, and then refinance. But like we're dealing with investment properties, and right now it's just there's no reason to invest.
Yeah. Okay. What other trends, I guess, what are you seeing on the short-term rental side right now?
From I read a blog about like the amenity race, and it was all about like adding more and more and more amenities to your house. You see these homes out in like Palm Springs or just places that are more rural, and they just like have every single thing. Pickleball court or this or this or
Mm.
this. We have a couple homeowners, especially younger ones, that have really invested like in the amenities of their home. And when I read this blog, like probably a year ago, I was like, oh yeah, that's probably happening. But like, is it really leading to like higher net revenue, higher? occupancy. And, strangely, it really actually is. I mean, like one of our homes in Venice that has literally everything, a sauna, cold plunge, projector, like every single thing you could think. Um, he's booked through March of next year. And then we have other homeowners that just, it's like, hey, we need to get a new rug in here. And they're like, okay, I went to Amazon and I ordered a $30 rug. And it's like, this is a $5 million house. What are you doing? And so we have some homes that are doing extremely well. A lot of it's driven by amenities and just like, and I guess the other thing that I'm seeing is just back to the reviews matter so much more than they ever have. Um, that same home might be seen 5,000 times a month on Airbnb, whereas we have other homes that, you know, every once in a while you get a 3-star review because of ants, because of whatever, and that home might be getting 100 views per month. So there's a huge difference. I spoke to a homeowner yesterday. He said, I have a home that we listed with a second property manager. We took one booking the entire summer. And this is a house like on the beach in
Okay.
Manhattan Beach, like a very nice area. And he's like, how are your homes doing in Manhattan? And actually, he asked me that first. And I said, oh, they're doing okay. This and this and this. We've taken on these two homes that are the duplex, we've taken 40 bookings. He's taken, I think he said 2 the entire summer. And so, I think there's this whole thing that's happening that's like, is the industry way down? Are people no longer booking? That's not the case. It's just we are living and dying by these algorithms. And, those algorithms are AI as well. They're deciding where to place which home, depending on what they think your budget is, depending on what they think you want. Um, and so we are living and dying by the algorithm in all ways at this point in time.
Now, you work across multiple time zones and also locations. Like you're currently in, if you're okay to let everyone know where you currently are. And when I spoke to you, you're on one side of the coast. How do you manage the team culture across being remote and also local?
Yeah, so I think that, so I'm in Barcelona right now. Um, I think that around the start of COVID, I thought I can work from anywhere and I can run a team from anywhere. Um, I've sort of found out that that's not really that true. It's partially true, but it's not really that true. And so I've been spending most of my time in Los Angeles now. We went through a big push of growth in the past like 4 or 5 months, and I was doing a lot of hands-on work for that. So I'm now that we're out of summer, I'm taking kind of like a few weeks off, and I'm here in Barcelona. But I don't. I think that this whole thing of like, oh, you can work from anywhere. I think if you're working at like a large corporation, you can get away with it. You can just kind of skate on by and get the work done and kind of not cause any waves. But I think that like we're going to start to see a big push to a return to office, um, and I'm going to return myself.
I mean, yeah, you've got to do that first before you tell everyone else to do that. Uh,
Yeah,
yep.
yeah, it's true.
Where, in terms of like from a business perspective and getting into real estate, what do you wish more founders within like the real estate space understood about running the kind of business that you do? Because you're running, you started from something quite small and you're trying to maintain that culture, but also that trustworthiness and the transparency and building that brand. What do you wish more
Yeah.
founders knew about that business and understand about that business model?
Um, so I've been back. Yeah, I've been doing this 12 years, and I've seen a lot of companies come and go, and a lot of companies that are like run by very smart people, like that know how to do these types of things. What I would say is that like you have to commit to the guest experience. It's like, like the Ritz Carlton or, the Aman hotels or what's the one that I love, Four Seasons. They were built over the course of a very long time, doing great work consistently. And I just think, things are going to go wrong. These are homes. There's 1,000 things that could go wrong in a home. But really, it's committing to like making sure that every single guest has a good experience is the reason that we're in business when so many other people have come and gone, like so many companies. You know, we take on management of homes all the time from people that start up. They offer introductory rates. They go under. There's a certain amount of money that it takes to run this business. The other thing that I would tell someone that's like looking to maybe potentially build a company like this is the barriers to entry are very, very small. You're competing against people that sometimes will say, I'll manage your property for 5%. And then, a homeowner will come to me and say, well, they'll do it for 5%. I'm like, well, I cannot run a business with employees at 5%. Like, it's just not possible. We start at 20%. All my employees are salaried. I think that we can now charge that because we've been doing this for 12 years. So it's a grind at first. There's a lot of people in this space, and there's a lot of people that are cutting their rates as low as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess if you were going to get into it, I would just commit to doing it right from the beginning and making sure that all of the guests staying in your homes had a great stay. Like, I have a phone call, so I'm winding on. I have a phone call later today with a homeowner that's with one of our major competitors. And like, I went on their Airbnb and like read their reviews, and I'm like, oh my God, I would like every once in a while a bad review happens, but like so many. And
Yeah.
it's like I like the amount of stress that I personally carry and that maybe I push on my team when people are having a bad experience, it makes all of our lives much more difficult. And so it's just committing to doing it right from the beginning. And if you do that, the other part of this too is operations and really being organized. There are so many AI tools that you can use to really be organized um, properly. And that's going to really funnel your business to succeed because this is a business of a million small parts. So and so left their sunglasses. We need to return them to this address. Like there's a million little things that have to happen every single day.
Yeah.
And so being organized is the only way to kind of get them all done properly.
Well, Brad, look, thanks so much for sharing your story and giving us a peek under the hood of Open Air Homes. Now, for listeners who want to check out your work or where to find you or find out more, where can they reach you?
So on Instagram, we're at Open Air Homes. We're at openairhomes.com. I'm not on social media, but I am learning. I'm learning how to do Facebook. We're on Facebook and all those things. I'm learning how to do them, but I am not on there personally. But yeah, you can reach out to us on our website. There's a leads form. I'm always happy to talk to people too that I want to start a business. I'm happy to give them tips, um, about what they're doing. So yeah,
Right.
reach out anytime.
All right, Brad, thank you very much. And if you're in the real estate space and you're looking to explore how AI can help you scale your business without losing that human touch, that's what we do at PropLink AI. Thanks very much, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
There we go.